today's story is called The Good News. Now, to understand what the good news is, then we probably need to understand why it's good news. And the reason that there is good news is because there was first some bad news. So I'm going to explain to you first of all what the bad news was, so then we'll understand why the good news is good news. So this is right at the beginning of time. So this is when God first made the world, and the world was perfect. God had made a beautiful garden for Adam and Eve to live in. But very sadly, Adam and Eve made a choice that was to disobey God. God had told them to never eat the fruit from this tree, which was called the tree of knowledge. But the serpent, who was the enemy in disguise, tricked Eve, and he said to her, "Are you sure that you don't want to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge, this fruit here? Don't you know that if you eat it, you'll be as clever as God?" See, he was tricking her. But Eve thought for a moment, because God had given her and Adam free choice. They could choose what to do in the garden. They didn't have to listen to God if they didn't want to. And so Eve listened to the serpent. Now this was bad news, not good news. And she chose to take the fruit and share some with Adam in the garden. Now this was the first time that love had been broken. So that's the bad news. And God said, because Adam and Eve had done some broken love, that they were not able to live in the garden with him anymore. So they had to go and live out in the wilderness. But God promised Adam and Eve that he would always be really, really close to them, that he would never leave them, and he had a plan. Now, during the time that Adam and Eve were on the earth, and there were other people on the earth, lots of broken love things happened. People didn't remember about showing love like God made them to, and they did things to make choices that were against God the same way as Eve and Adam did. And so the world was getting more and more broken love in it. But God had some good news, because he had a plan. Now, in the old part of the Bible, in the Old Testament, when people did something wrong, they'd have to give a sorry gift to God, and they would often give something that was pure, something that had done nothing wrong, something like a goat, and they would give that to God and say, "Can that take the place of the thing that I've done wrong? Take the blame for me." And that's what they did. But people kept making mistakes and doing broken love, and kept having to give new sorry gifts to God all the time. And so God thought, "I've got a better plan. I'm going to put myself inside a baby." And this was going to be a baby that was going to be born to Mary. Let's put Adam and Eve over there for a minute. Mary and Joseph. So God put himself inside to a baby, and he made his very own son. And baby Jesus came down to the earth. Now the special thing about baby Jesus was that he'd done nothing wrong. He was never going to do anything wrong, because he was part of God. He was holy, which means he was perfect. And he had come, and the plan was that he was going to be the gift, the sorry gift to the world for all of the broken love things that people had done. Now, this was going to be good news for all of the people. That meant that they didn't have to give sorry gifts to God anymore. What it meant is they just had to be sorry in their heart, and they had to tell Jesus, and Jesus would take away all of the broken love things they'd do. So here's Jesus, who's grown up now, and that's exactly what happened. That was God's plan, and that's what happened. Jesus died on the cross, and when he died, all of the broken love things died too. And so that is the good news. But we wouldn't know that it was good news unless we first of all knew about the bad news, would we? But you know, the good news gets better and better, because Jesus dying on the cross means that all of the broken love things have gone away. But he didn't stay dead. Jesus, 3 days after he died on the cross, he rose again. So he wasn't on the cross anymore, and he was up and about, and he was alive and well. And then Jesus went to go and live in God's kingdom with God. And that's why the good news gets better and better, because God's promise to every person is that when they know who he is and they have a friendship with Jesus and with him, and they're sorry for the broken love things that they do, that they get to live in God's kingdom too, forever and ever. And that's the story of the good news.